Okay, right. So let's try. I haven't even got a palette. Let's fix that. Oh dear, we really are. I mean, you know, the crew here. You know, the sound man's asleep. The props department. Paintbrushes there. Good. Glass of wine. Yes. We're on rosé today. I thought that'd be sensible, given the weather was brightening up a bit. Anyway, let's see if Mr. Fletcher's at home. If he isn't, then at least we won't have the problem of him not keeping still. It's still right, this picture. It's a little bit. Somewhere it is. It's a good start, isn't it? Dexter, where are you? Didn't tell him it was today. Let's try him again. Oh well, in that case, I guess it'll be a slightly different setup if we haven't got Dexter in. But I think I did take a screenshot of his face, which I just pulled up. So be looking at that. In the meantime, if that doesn't get anywhere. Me, I could do a self-portrait. Okay, well, like, I'm tempted to just carry on for now and see if he calls back.
We can answer more questions.
Exactly. God, he'll be a little bit quieter without him here, that's for sure. Let's see if this works.
Oh, it's quite a funny joke.
That's a really bad screenshot, but at least it's roughly. I managed to find one position where he was more or less how he is in this picture, and it's certainly a good deal easier without him fidgeting around. Okay. Right. Okay. I had 3 brushes before. Yeah. I have 3 brushes just because, and sometimes 4 actually, just because it slightly speeds things up. I have obviously everything C, but I have a sort of light, medium, and dark very roughly. Although they tend to be a bit inconsistent. Sometimes I have a 4th or a 5th with slightly different colours as well, depending on what stage I'm at in the picture. Okay, well let's see. Until we get hold of Dexter, which we might not at all. Let's just.
One of the questions from last time, which we didn't get to, was from people talking about the different colours, or at least how they appeared.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's everyone's individual.
Yeah, everyone's saying it.
Screens, but some people talking about it
green,
green
yeah.
against the red. But
well, so I mean, so there are 2 things there. I mean, I don't know if you've got a close up of it, yes. But if you cover off all the other sort of pink, look at my hand next to it, because my hand actually isn't that far off the tones of the face itself. Obviously, very different. My hand over here probably looks a bit more green, and so it's probably not as green as you think. Firstly, secondly, there are a lot more greens in skin tones, I think, than we realise. If you look at Lucian Freud's paintings, he was very good at subtly exaggerating these things. But when you're close up to one of his, you can't really believe that it'll look like actual flesh from a distance, but it always does. And it somehow looks more real than any photograph does, because he really did see colour beautifully. So that's another thing. And the other thing is, actually, it doesn't really matter. I think when you know that it'll be interesting. But what I haven't decided yet is whether the rest of the picture, the background, whether I'll paint it or not. Because as soon as you start to, then obviously it does change the colours, and this might start to look quite warm. But in the context of the picture overall, you want it to kind of work as in the context of this image. It doesn't really matter, in my mind, how it looks the rest against anything else in the world. You kind of, once you've been looking at it for a minute, you change your colour sense anyway. Our eyes adjust pretty fast. I quite like that. But certainly, I guess it would make it easier. I know a lot of artists do stick to a particular colour range, and it's obviously the easiest thing is to make it as accurate as possible. But I was just, I don't know, I didn't find it so interesting to do that. Okay, so let's get going. So what am I looking at? I'm just going to spend a few minutes, actually, as I've got a still image of him, just see what's kind of wrong with the drawing of it at the moment, because it's sort of kind of halfway him. I think I made his lips maybe a bit sort of exaggerated those a little bit, so let's just correct that. And I got the colour right. Colours have dried up a little bit on my palette. I realise I've been doing a lot of painting in the last couple of days. Just going to see if I can get that a bit better. Just get that roughly right. Maybe this side of the mouth as well. It's got a little cheeky bit in the corner there, I think. And then a bit like that. What else? Eyes, I think, need a bit of work, need a bit of love. You can get away with making mistakes in most of the painting, and the drawing not being too accurate. In some ways, sometimes notice if I use photos too much, I sometimes find the sort of superficial accuracy gets greater, but you lose something. You lose a bit of, obviously, the animation. You lose a bit of a sense of somehow the real experience of seeing someone, where you're constantly correcting for the changes in their face. And I think it's funny how, you know, actually you can get away with, especially when you're not painting it in a super accurate way, of getting things a bit wrong and changing things. But as long as the eyes and the mouth are all right, and to some extent the sort of jawline and the overall shape of the face too. I don't know, other people may find different things, but can you hear me all right out there? I don't know how to answer you, but Yaz will probably see on the Instagram feed if that's not the case. I'm just not going to spend too long doing this because I like the slight wonkiness that I was getting before, but I just might as well get a few things and it's very slightly improved. And yeah, do ask me some questions. I realise it's not going to be scintillating when I concentrate on these bits, but it won't last long, I promise. At least the quiet bit, not solely the not scintillating bit. Okay. You're doing the line in the middle of the mouth. That's somewhere where you can go a lot redder than anything else on the canvas. It's red reflecting red or pink reflecting pink, and it's always a lot more pronounced just there than anywhere else. Sometimes in the corners too. He's looking quite roguish in this picture actually. I don't know if that's necessarily a conscious decision to do that, although probably quite appropriate. It's a bit high, isn't it? That nostril's a bit higher than I've got it. Sheeps, do you want to just try Dexter in case he's, you know, just
Yes,
had a bathroom accident of some kind?
I'll try him again. I'll try telling him.
He may be drunk. That often happens with him. He loses days at a time. Years of his life, I believe, have gone that way.
It's true. At this point, you can say whatever you want.
Yeah, I think I may start to give the true story of Dexter Fletcher in a minute if he doesn't show up. Do you want to hear that? Do you? I can tell some stories.
Don't want to go down that route, yeah.
No, don't worry. I mean, the stories, we've got some very funny stories, no bad ones, I don't think.
There are a couple questions.
Oh, good.
So, will you be painting the hair today?
Quite possibly, yeah. I mean, again, you can see, if you can see the source image I'm using, there's a bit of hair there. So I think we'll certainly, I think it's going to need a bit more hair at some point to capture the sort of mad, egotistical director in full motion. Is there any Dexter lookalikes out there we could get online? Of any of you that can do good Dexter impressions? Stick on a Boris wig and some silly glasses. Dexter would like FaceTime, would he? I bet he would. What do you think? Shall we? Should we answer him? What do you think? Let him ring the bit? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. A little nap. I was about to tell some stories about you, actually.
Sorry about that. I was doing something, but I've finished doing it now.
I tried Mrs. Fletcher as well, so she involved in whatever you were doing.
That's the key to finding me ultimately. Mrs. Fletcher is
Mrs.
the
Fletcher.
one. You even sent me a text to remind you, and I must answer that, and then I got distracted and I didn't answer it.
Well, you're here now.
It's better late than never.
It is very late
what
now.
they say.
Yeah.
He's actually managed to be probably a bit more informative while he didn't have you. Anyway.
That's it. You can actually get on with actually telling people something useful in the meantime while I was
doing whatever you were doing.
Rebuilding the.
You're a bit sweaty there.
No, tearful.
Tearful.
I was tearful because I realised I've let you down, John.
Oh, right.
I was crying.
You've let yourself down, Dexter.
I have. Wouldn't be the first time. It wouldn't be the first time, Sheba. So there you go. But here we are now.
That's good because people wanted your hair done.
Yeah.
They wanted my wash.
We want your hair in it.
Have the same bandana. Look at that.
Nice.
Putting it back on. Look at that. God, I don't know what I've done to my hair. My hair again will be atmospheric.
They're different glasses, aren't they?
Yeah.
Are those more normal glasses for you?
Where are they? No, they are different glasses. You're right. No, I might have some other ones that are like those ones, but a different colour, same shape.
Yeah, shape's probably more important than colour.
Shape's more important, isn't it? Yeah. I'm all of a tither.
While he's doing that, you can answer a couple of questions.
Oh yeah, what other questions?
I think one was
Where's Dexter?
what medium.
Yeah, exactly. The invisible man.
Where is Dexter?
What medium mixture do you use?
What medium is it? That's a good question.
They're the same shape, aren't they?
Yeah, that's very good.
Yes. Yeah, fine. Sorry.
I use basically what I've done is I made a little mix of my own with some terps, about 50-50 terps and linseed oil, stand oil, and then the secret sauce. Well, you got to be a bit careful with it. Is clove oil. You put a few drops of that in, which basically slows down the drying, which means that the stuff I was doing a few days ago is still wet enough to work into. Be really careful with it because if you put too much in, then it might never dry. But that's something which someone told me about 10 years ago, and it did make a big difference to my life.
Well, that's one of the questions actually. Is that paint still wet on the canvas?
Good question. Bits of it are. I think some of the bits of it a bit earlier on aren't, but some of the bits I did last time are. You can kind of see it. So in theory, if you get it right, it does keep it wet for anywhere. Because paint usually dries overnight. I mean, certainly within a couple of days. Even with I know they make some mixtures which are supposedly slow drying, but this keeps it. Yeah, if you get it right, it should keep it wet for up to a week. But you want to be really careful if it's still wet beyond that, because then you can never varnish it and things like that. Anyway, hey ho. Let's see now. So Dex, what I'm thinking is maybe you shouldn't look at the picture as it's being done today till the end. So it's a bit more of a surprise. So when I put a big bushy moustache on you or something, then we get your full reaction at the end.
Okay. What do you want me? I mean, my hair is unfortunately.
No, it's good. Well, I haven't done much of your hair yet, so I think that's however you want it. However it is now might be how it goes in the picture. That's good.
How's that?
Yeah,
suitably dishevelled.
Yeah. It's good.
Sorry about that, John. I rarely see you annoyed with me. I think I've seen it for the first time ever. I like how she just giggles. She was like, hee 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 hee.
I was wondering how to. Actually, I'm sorry, we have to cancel that call for a Fletcher lookalike. I was wondering about how to get around the issue of not having my.
I did it on purpose. Sheba and I arranged it, actually. Sheba and I have been texting secretly. She said, "This will really be a hoot. Why don't you not be ready when you said you were going to be, and see what John does? See how good he is at improvising."
Okay. So look, what we should do is actually is it possible to turn the indoor light down a little bit?
Darling, can you
turn
turn
down about that half
away a bit? Just point it. Yeah, just dim it a bit and maybe point it down and dim it. Can you dim it? No, that's brightening it. There you go. That's good.
Oh yeah.
Look at this, John.
Yeah,
how's that?
Yeah, that's good. Even a bit more actually. A fraction
Even a
more.
bit more, John.
Fraction more. Just want a very slight hint of it. Yeah. Perfect. Beautiful.
Perfect.
That's great actually. Gorgeous.
It's brought a salty tear to his eye. How's that? How's Yasmin?
How's Yasmin?
That's what I always like to see her just leaning into frame.
Yeah, as you say hello, they can't hear you on Instagram.
Hello.
Hello on Instagram. Better late than never.
So, how's your isolation? Hi, Tabby. You can say hello.
No, not Tabitha.
No, you don't. Yeah, double tab.
No.
Come on, Tab. Come say hello.
Doesn't want to be involved. Doesn't want to be on telly.
No, fair enough. Doesn't want to be on telly. Broadcast to the nation. Think of all the fans and likes you'll gain. Aren't those sort of things important?
Not anymore. No, that's so kind of 5 years ago. Yeah.
What likes are passé, are they already?
Yeah, it's not
That's
about.
good.
It's not about.
I'm ahead of the curve on that one.
It's quality, not quantity.
That's why they're here.
Can everyone hear Dexter okay?
Can you? Is Dexter coming through all right? Can you hear you? I can turn it up. Sorry, if I turn it up too much, then I can't boom
No,
on the
that's fine. I just want to check these sounded quieter
I mean,
today than normal.
Yeah, I mean that was deliberate because everyone was complaining about how much you were
fine.
talking last time.
I'm not going to say a word or move. I'm going to hold my breath until the end of the whole broadcast. And let's see what I go.
I'm not sure that's possible, is it?
What, for me to be quiet or not move? I think I've been officially diagnosed with ADHD now.
Oh, good.
Just from someone watching this.
Yeah. Well, I've been medicated for some years.
Self-medicating, John. That's self-medicating. Doesn't count. My isolation is isolated. Unfortunately, Dahlia's here and she's not throttled me yet out of sheer frustration and annoyance. So I consider that to be a win.
Yeah.
How's it all going there? Have you left the painting untouched?
I have actually. Yeah. I mean, it's been quite hard to resist.
Dahlia wants to say hello to you.
I've been sitting on the easel. Hi, Dahlia. Hi. How are you?
How are you? He's saying. She can't.
I am fighting the neighbors.
Hi.
Can you imagine our neighbors? We have
Dahlia thinks it's a social call.
And it's not social. It's for all nations to know. Our neighbors to entertain their child. Basically, sitting. Something is buzzing by our windows. I thought somebody's drilling something. I
Could have been
come
anything.
to a window. And 10 minutes later, after I lost the plot, and our neighbor entertains child with a drone, and drone is in front of our window with a camera pointing in our kitchen.
And you're naked cooking again.
And my naked cooking again. So I am so bloody distressed.
Yeah. Can we get any of that footage on here?
Well,
can
you
we
have
get
to
some of
contact
that?
my neighbor for that.
Right, that's enough of this.
Anyhow, I'm fighting my neighbors. That's how I am.
Well, that has to be continued, right? I mean, we want to hear the rest of that story. So, have the police been called yet?
I know who's going to lose that battle.
Neighbour.
What's your money on, Sheba?
What?
It's your money
What's
on.
your money on?
Oh, from the beginning of the story, I knew what was happening there.
You did.
So that's our day in isolation. We're being spied on. We're that intriguing. Not only are you spying on us.
Yeah, well, I couldn't spy on you, but next time I'll just bring the neighbour and just shove a camera through your bedroom door.
There you go. That's why you wanted to know who the neighbour was.
Yeah.
I need to paint Fletcher. Can you get the drone up?
Yeah.
Am I in roughly the same position?
Yeah, it's good.
I feel like I've put on weight since the last.
I think we all have. If anyone out there hasn't put on weight, then please don't tell us because that's annoying. But all living off tinned pasta and spam.
Yes, tinned pasta. That's a new one on me. But yes, that's right. Tinned pasta and spam.
Didn't you have that when you were a kid?
No.
Tinned pasta already in sauce, alphabets and things like that.
Yeah, of course.
Mrs. Yo led a life of sort of organic luxury and freshness
Luxury,
down on the South London
Of
farm.
course she did. That's right. On the South
luxury.
London outdoor farm.
Well,
Organic
I think in
turnips.
cuisine terms, it probably was.
Yes, there was no tins.
In the 70s, there were no tins.
There were no tins. You were
They
missing
hadn't
out.
heard of tins.
My mum would invent the most extraordinary combinations of tinned salmon and Branston pickle, mashed potatoes and baked beans. It was quite the treat in our house. That was a slap up meal. That was back in the day.
Yeah, exactly. Well, if you don't know any different, you don't feel you're missing out on anything. And certainly,
we didn't know. It was an absolute treat. It was great. We didn't. We're all very skinny considering all the processed food we were eating. I suppose it wasn't.
Maybe
Tons of fish fingers.
They weren't chucking in all kinds of sort of weird, refined sort of tricky. Where's Mr. Oliver when we need him? Surely he could be telling us exactly why we're not getting fat.
Exactly why it was. Yeah.
Can we?
The salt content and all of that sort of boring old number.
Yeah, I think
give us the
exactly.
content.
He can bore on for ages about that. We can really.
Mind you, if you think I'm a nightmare to sit still and paint, he'd be an absolute. He'd drive you to distraction. That guy.
That's true.
That would really drive.
I did a little sketch of him a while back. He wouldn't be. I think he'd be quite interesting. But yeah, we might have to do him in little for
certainly be interesting.
10-minute sitting. We could do it in 10-minute chunks, maybe, if that one.
Have you talked to him about it?
No, I haven't yet. It seems like he's been quite busy setting up his own rather more sophisticated broadcasting operation from home. But I will certainly give him a shout.
He had his wife shooting him on the iPhone so he could make a program. Bless him, he's like, got to get material out there.
Yeah.
He's like, I've got this great idea.
People go mad if they don't get
They don't know what to do if he doesn't tell them what to cook for the week.
Yeah, that's very true. Actually, we use quite a lot of his, don't we?
Yeah, I love
it.
I say we, I obviously mean Mrs. Yo.
But
my ability to follow a recipe is, I would say, poor.
No, but you make good food.
Well, thank you.
You just reinvent it.
You do. I told you my story about when I first got to know Jamie and I was cooking for one of his books.
No.
And I was combining two recipes.
Deliberately or not?
No, because I fancied some sort of spaghetti meatball-y kind of scenario thing, and I found two recipes on different pages, and one was making the pasta sauce out of wild boar sausage, which I some wild boar sausage, but I was making a different pasta with it, so I was combining two recipes, and he phoned me. He said, "What are you doing, Fletcher?"
Well, that's the best of both, isn't it?
Well, that's what I thought, and I said to him, he said to me, "What are you doing?" I said, I'm cooking a recipe from your book," and he said, "Well, what recipe are you cooking?" I said, "Well, it's a bit of this one and a bit of that one." So, and he got very disgruntled. He said, "Well, that's not my recipe, is it?" I said, "Well, it is, because it's two of yours." He said, "Well, that's like me getting two of your films and editing them together and then saying these don't make any sense."
Yeah.
Which I suppose is a very valid point. He said, "It's going to taste terrible, and then you'll say my books are rubbish, and they're not. I put a lot of work into them." So I tend not to tell them when I make it up as I go along. Yeah. But they are good, you know. But good wild boar sausage meatballs they were.
Did he do? Wasn't he going to do an April Fool of one ingredient recipe book? I don't know if he did that. Let's talk a bit.
If he didn't, it's a fucking good idea. We're not allowed to swear, are we? Don't say. Have you got
we get booted off the Facebook.
If you swear.
Yeah.
If you're broadcasting swear words.
Yeah.
Don't you have Sheba there to beep it out? Beep! You have to shout.
No, I'm quite good at swearing.
Can't you shout beep whenever I swear?
I could swear loud.
How bad does the swearing have to be, do you think, to kind of people? But I mean, maybe that's a bad road to go down. But let's not run through the words that might be problematic in that area. No, I think. I did think momentarily about asking Giles to do this, but then I realised that he'd be permanently muted.
Yeah, that would be the safest option, and he'd get livid if no one could actually hear him. That would be why he would want to be on, so that we'll be subjected to some diatribe. I mean, I'm quite happy if nobody listens to me, but he definitely wants to be heard.
Might turn up there, Dexter.
Oh, Sheila, that was good. Okay, I deserve that. That's fine. Oh, my phone's running low on battery.
Great.
I might just disappear.
I'm going to do a screenshot. Hello. Right. Wow, all the thrills and spills of live television coming to you directly live to the nation from my garage through Dexter's phone that's about to run out.
My phone. That was more of a reaction to Sheba having a little gig.
It gives it a little bit of drama.
Well, that's a bit of tension. People
tension, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, bit of tension. Bit of
can we have the bars going down on the corner? Will we make it?
Jules is on. Hey, Jules.
We were just talking about her hubby.
Yeah, and her. We were just speculating whether Mr. Jules would keep still long enough for one of these. Don't have to answer now. And
yeah, would your husband sit still long enough to do this? Because I'm struggling. Underneath here, I'm tap dancing. Thank God I'm sitting down. What do you reckon? Would Jamie sit still long enough?
In case Jules missed the start of it, do you want to bring her up to date with what was going on for about 10 minutes?
She's saying Jamie is driving me mad, and no, you know the answer.
Told ya. That was the general consensus that it would be impossible.
Yeah.
He'd have to make a TV show and get it out to the nation in the hour that he would have to sit still. So I see some people are submitting some rather interesting entries as well to the Draw a Dexter Fletcher competition.
Yeah, I mean, they must have. I don't know how they managed to get more than me last time. They must have their ability to track a moving target. It is one of those things. I mean, I was joking about it. I mean, but actually, you don't want people keeping completely still either, because then you get a very stationary image. So it's a balance, really. I mean, you kind of, what I try to do on the whole in my studio is have a few interesting things behind me, so that if people kind of get bored of looking at me, that they can sort of like look at other things there rather than start looking around the room. At least then if I start noticing them getting particularly twitchy, then I can obviously put on a funny hat or do whatever it takes.
That's when you put in your tutu or your fake nose and moustache.
Exactly.
No, ordinarily I would be absolutely focused on you, John, but I feel kind of get a bit relaxed. Look at my computer.
Yeah,
I think sitting around and not have stimulus. Even on the phone, you sort of wander about and look out.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it is. I mean, even if you're looking at someone else on it, a sort of anything that's coming through a proxy device of some kind is not the same as actually having a real person there, obviously. And we don't. It's hard to kind of treat it with the same seriousness. Even though we're tricking our brain into thinking someone is actually there, we sort of instinctively know they're not. And so it is obviously anything that it's trumped by anything that's actually going on in the room. In terms of concentration, I think that's my excuse. I did pour myself a glass of rosé today.
Rosé, very nice, very good.
I was going to take advantage of this momentary warmth.
John's having a glass of rosé. Can I have a glass of wine, Dahlia? She's gone off now. I need Dahlia to get it for me. She seems to be busy.
Putting up a blind, presumably.
Yeah, exactly. Stripping off the neighbours.
Thank you. Yes, exactly. Sellotaping wallpaper to our windows. Look like we've moved out.
So what's been going on? What's actually been happening in your world this week?
Well, John, since we last spoke and since we last sat down, would you believe not a great deal?
Oh, a little dramatic pause. We lost the connection. Oh, poor connection.
Do the things I need to do. Oh, are we getting a bad connection?
Okay.
Johnny, do you want to talk about the fact that if you are now putting in the hair, how that affects the rest of your painting?
How it affects it?
Well, because you're suddenly throwing in a new colour.
Yeah, I mean, so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to do it in little areas to start getting a sense of what it'll look like. I find that it can be better to just sort of sketch the hair in than to paint it all in, but other times the other way around. So what I'm trying to do is not do too much to it, and again slightly take the colour of the background as if it's sort of like emerging from the background, but that's just my own approach to doing it. I think I said before, but I don't think I'm very good at hair. I mean, it's not that's like I've given it about 1% of my concentration compared to faces, I'd say. So I'm really happy to take anyone else's advice about how I might improve on this. But it's I think
surely it's not always an option though for you to just ignore the hair. I mean, if I'm it's. You know, you're doing it for our own. Yeah, no,
I'm exaggerating a bit.
But if someone commissions you and says, "Okay, I must have my full head of glorious hair," well, that's the most important thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think, if the hair is an important part of someone's sort of persona, then obviously that becomes a reason for kind of making a bigger deal of it. And I think, but the hair is something we change often quite a lot. I mean, yours will change less so now, but when you were acting, it would change a lot. And I think it's one of those things where, you know, actually it is a slightly more ephemeral thing, a bit like what we're wearing. You know, it does tell a story, but it's, you know, it can also be a misleading story or a kind of transient one. And whereas the face is pretty consistent on the whole. And as we get older, of course, you know, the lines in our face are kind of a part of who we are and a part of all the expressions we've always made. And so it's like your face, you know, really does become your biography as you get older. And so I think that certainly. So I'm sort of making light of it a bit, and obviously the hair is something that's kind of in all the pictures. But I've always sort of like, you know, erred on the side of making it a lot less prominent than the face, unless there's a very good reason to do otherwise. Because for kind of those reasons.
Surely the eyes can tend to probably be more of a focal point.
Yeah. Exactly.
It tends to be where people look first, doesn't
it? Well, the eyes are so expensive. You probably see when I was doing a bit to the eyes earlier. But the the slightest, you can change the sort of sense of the expression from, you know, two little sort of brush strokes, you know, and around the eyes and the mouth. Whereas other parts of the picture you can change quite a lot without it necessarily making such a big difference. Because basically our eyes, you know, we are very, very highly tuned to read expressions, because they're, you know, it was only a few generations ago that, you know, every time you went out of your cave, well, a few generations, quite a lot of generations, but yeah, it's still in our DNA that, you know, a stranger, you know, to recognise whether someone's a stranger, what their intent is, you know, whether they're a, you know, potential threat or, you know, friend or potential sexual partner or, you know, whatever it is, you know, it's a split second thing. It's very important to make that decision very quickly and without having to think about it. And so obviously a lot of that information comes, a huge amount of it comes from the face and obviously the body language to some extent too. But the eyes and the mouth are the sort of the big things that communicate the sort of mood and the personality and are predictors of what's going to happen next.
All those micro reactions.
Yes, exactly, and that's the other thing. So when you're close to someone, you do pick up on the little things that often kind of appear on those bits of the face, but because they're going through someone's mind before. I mean, I always say that the eyes are the things that give things away because it's actually what people are thinking. So if people are smiling with their eyes, it's a genuine thing. Whereas people can force a smile with their mouths, but if the eyes aren't going with it, then it's not going to it's not genuine. It doesn't feel sincere. Well done, Yaz. Good work. Yaz is camera operator and mixer today.
Mixer.
Well, just think of the sound over there.
Oh, so you meant paint.
Hopefully the sound's better today.
Yeah, someone said it was.
Good.
I've got a couple of feeds going easily, Dexter.
Yeah. I'm
very impressed, Shiva. I mean, you know, from the tin can and string version that we first started with.
Yeah.
We've come so far.
Pretty much was.
We've come so far.
So far. Look at us now.
Different feeds and, you know.
Yeah, it'll be Netflix in a week or two, I'm sure.
Series, that's right. They just offered Johnny $100 million to do 12 episodes. If only I had a tiger. This would really make it really topical, really interesting.
Yeah.
I've got a cactus.
Well, that's certainly. I mean, that's a bit. I think that's one of the prerequisites to get a meeting with Netflix.
A rather vicious-looking cactus.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could certainly get some
on a lead.
Yeah.
couple of flunkies.
That looked very nice, John.
What are some of your tips for doing the eyes and the mouth? Because you have got quite a few that you've learned over just a couple of touches that help things.
Okay, well, I mean, it's a hard one to be precise on because it's a bit of a low res thing, but I tell you, you can see a bit what I've been doing, which is putting in just a sort of general sense of them so far. But you can, I mean, so I don't know where to start really. The whites of the eyes are never as wide as you think they are, so that's often kind of messes things up if you try and articulate that too much too early on. I think you want to sort of suggest things and then make a decision about where to be more precise with stuff. I think I've got they're looking a bit cross-eyed here now. What's going on? But he's sending a sneaky email or something. Look at him.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I was just trying to move my computer into view, but I won't do that. It's fine. It'll change the light on my face as well if I start writing stuff.
And what I'm going to do is, I'll do a separate session actually, because I think actually we started in a way by talking a bit more about the process, and I want to take advantage of Dexter being here to try and make some progress on this today, because I think it'll for both of our sanity. We probably don't want to do one more session on this. I think it's really comfy. You'll be losing the will to live. So.
I don't want you to think that my tardiness was of timekeeping was an indication of my commitment to the process.
You're very sweet. No, don't worry.
It was literally just I just got involved in something.
We've got a
drive. I kicked myself for not actually calling you earlier and making sure that we were definitely on it.
Yeah, no, you did. As I said, you sent, and I must answer that, and then carried on doing what I'm doing, and yeah. Just got to
whatever you were doing.
I forgot. I'm loath to say
performing for the neighbour's drone in some manner.
I mean, look, if they're going to look through the window, I have to sew myself a nice sequined outfit and prepare a whole dance routine, and that takes time. Time, effort, energy.
I hope you'll share some of those results with the rest of us.
Naturally.
Good.
Beef toe. I'll be changing my whole dance routine.
How come we haven't managed to get it together to do any online poker yet? Or have you been doing it without me?
No, I know. Yeah, I don't know. I think there is things being organised by people.
I thought there was as well. And
you have to be a member of a certain website in order to do it or something, which I'm not. I'm sure
that sounds very complicated. Just someone enterprising out there must be able to.
Keith should be able to do it. Keith's
been a bit busy.
He's a polymath. Surely that's. Yeah, I think
is he busy though, Sheba? Is he really busy?
He's been amazing.
He has really kind of ramped it up and got it going single-handedly, which is an amazing thing. I think he realised that it was a bit of a time-sensitive thing that wasn't something to wait till next year on.
Next year when it all dies down and it comes back round again for the second wave. All right, let's kick it. Actually, we know what to do this time.
Or after having been in our houses for 6 months, not going out and getting immune to all the other nasty bugs going around, we'll die of.
True. All the animals would have
not be gloomy about Corona. I mean, I think there's
plenty of that anyway. Not allowed to be gloomy about it.
Someone's wondering if your pink hair is there.
My what?
Your pink hair.
My pink hair.
Yeah.
I didn't know about that. There was an incident here the night before last. Actually, I think it probably needs...
Was that not an April Fool's joke?
Well, it was on April Fool's Day. I don't even see the purple reflection in my hair.
It's isolation meltdown is what it is, Dexter.
A couple of ladies in the house decided they could help me out in the hair department and applied some pink dye to it.
You asked?
Yeah, I did instigate it. Well, I think we come to the conclusion that my hair is a bit shit, and also it's too dark. So we're gonna, according to Tabby, we're gonna have to peroxide it first and then make it pink.
Sounds like a smart move.
Give us a few more days on that one, but hopefully we'll.
I think that's a really good idea, peroxiding your hair. That's a great idea.
The thing is, I think they suggested it some months ago, and I said, well, it wouldn't really work because I have to go out and do important meetings and blah, blah, blah. And anyway, they seem to have spotted the fact that I don't really have anything important to do or anyone to talk to, so that all those former objections no longer applied. What do you think? Yes.
And you seemed infinitely up for it as well.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's just
you have
pass
to,
the time.
Yes, of course.
Didn't consult me, Dexter.
No, I mean,
Well,
it's hard to believe anything happens around here without that thing.
Yeah, because he knows what the answer is going to be.
I would have hidden it.
Consult you. Well, precisely. There was no fun to be had in that score there, was there? Like, no, don't be silly. Because the thing is, he doesn't have to, he doesn't have to look at himself. You're the one who has to look at him with his ridiculous pink hair. Yeah, I know the deal. Shall I do it to my hair?
Yes.
Yay.
Yours would look great.
It's a good idea.
Pink.
Yeah. Actually, you're more behind the camera than in front.
I know.
You can do almost whatever you want.
I can really let myself go. As you probably noticed, that's what I've been doing for the last 5 years.
I don't think you have.
No, I don't think you have either, Dexter.
Oh, okay. I'll fish for compliments. It's not enough that you're painting a portrait of me, John. I must have other compliments thrust upon me as well.
I think you got some fans out there. I think we found that last time, didn't we? I think there's some Fletcher.
Poor misguided fools.
With drones.
What?
They're the ones with the drones.
Yeah, exactly. They won't leave me alone. Drone hunted.
So that's kind of impressive.
No, I went to Borough Market yesterday, which
did you?
Some probably ill-advised.
No,
it wasn't actually. There wasn't
was it
many
active
people
there?
Yeah, if you're going to do your veg shopping, which is what I had to do.
Yeah.
Then they've got loads there. It's not like you don't have to queue up like you do to get into the supermarket. You just go there, and you have to keep your distance and wear one of these, John. I wore one of these. I stuck on one of those.
That is quite impressive. Actually, that would make it a lot easier doing the lower part of your face, actually, if you keep that on.
One-cut bra.
Yeah. It is. Yeah. It's very comical. It looks like a sort of one of Madonna's stage outfits from the sort of late 80s.
That's what it was. It's either it's a crash helmet for a small child. Oh, I am actually running low on battery.
How low?
10%. But I've got this, John. Look.
Hello. Okay.
I went there and I thought, is this a smart move? But I took my old man's shopping trolley on wheels. Mm-hmm. Filled it up with veg.
Nice.
So as long as you keep your mask on, you keep distant.
Yeah, you keep your distance. I think that's a thing now. I think those of us who've been isolating for 2 weeks, like most of us have, we probably haven't got it. So the main thing is now not to get close enough to catch it and then spread it. We just need to. Yeah. I guess.
Yeah, I still feel sort of irresponsible going out shopping, but
it feels it, doesn't it? And that's the thing. It kind of just feels. I had to go to the studio to pick something up, take a bunch of things up to work from home, and I found myself looking at other people, who are you? Are you really need to be here? You look like you're having too much fun.
What are you doing outside? Is it important what you're doing?
Yeah.
I know
we're police officers. Yeah, keep walking.
They wear uniforms. That's a giveaway. Unplug my phone in for some power.
There's only 15 minutes left.
Oh, we've only got 15 minutes left anyway, Phil.
When I came in late, we can go longer.
Oh, Daddy, this is on low battery.
Just everywhere.
It's on low battery. Okay. Well, is it still going though? Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's go as long as we can. Actually, what I was going to do was I'm going to film the other thing. I didn't do that. Anyway. Hey-ho, really well. Oh, is it gone? Oh, okay. We're still going. How's it looking? What usually happens when I'm doing a painting is I'll just walk back. I'm not. I don't know if I'll stand to do it actually, because I probably could do that here. But you kind of tend to go backwards and forwards more to check whether you're getting the proportions right. Actually, it doesn't feel too badly wrong, this one.
It doesn't feel too badly wrong.
No, it's one of those things.
It doesn't feel too badly wrong.
I'd love to get the impression that I was, this is what 2.5 hours in or so. Sometimes they kind of work quickly, and sometimes they work fantastically well. Sometimes they really don't, and that was my hesitation about doing this at all. We all have good and bad days, and I didn't want to either. Obviously didn't want it to be a bad day and make everyone think that I'm completely useless, but also didn't want it to just make it look so easy that people assume that it's supposed to go like that every time. Because I think it doesn't.
Well, that's the advantage then of doing it over 3-4 sessions. Is
there's very much that. You got quieter.
That rich seam of ability, whether you're in the zone or not.
Yeah. Exactly.
I suppose that me turning up late focused the mind, John, in a way that
exactly.
It's like anger's a real great one for focus.
I don't know if it's my anger. I was kind of thinking. I was desperately trying to improvise and think. Well, I guess if I was a professional, in any kind of professional operation, I might have had a contingency plan for if the sitter didn't show up and I was still expected to do something. But I'll think about that for the next one. I
won't let you down again, John. Well, no, so I'm not going to promise that, but.
The next one might be we're talking about it anyway.
Don't know.
We don't know, so it might be. It's not definitely. Okay.
Maybe not.
We were worried that kind of like it's all been getting a bit too highbrow, so we thought we'd lower the tone a bit.
You worried it was getting too highbrow with me?
Yeah.
Thanks, you liar. My wife sits here in despair at the dribble that I come out with. Poor woman. I can hear all birds singing in the background. It's very pleasant, very nice.
I know, it's lovely.
You don't get that round here.
Yeah.
Well, actually, we should have a glance at your setup there, because Dexter's got such a spectacular sort of brutalist urban loft. It's very cool indeed, and I'm sure some of you would be interested, even just to see one of your kind of items of furniture or something, a little glimpse of the interior style there.
You want to do that? There's my big sun lamp that I put up when you're working. Okay. Put that there. That's my concrete floor and sprawled out sofa.
Nice.
We got the sheets drying from the bed.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
That's good. There's our big brutalist metal box that we have, cage here thing. There's all cupboards in there, and then that's the bed. That's the bedroom behind those Japanese doors. Shiny concrete floors everywhere. So there you go. It's that sort of long desk with a load of detritus on it.
That's so messy, isn't it? Isn't it, girls? That's really messy. I don't dare show you that sort of thing.
Do you want my name drop? See those orchids that are sitting on the...
They're nice.
Elton gave me those for my birthday.
Did he? Elton who?
And it's still going now. That's why they're a great gift. It's not just flowers that stay the distance. They're still going. I love them. They're really great. So there you go, Sheba. That's my big name drop.
Yeah, well, I'm suitably impressed, Dexter.
Good. Thanks very much. Yeah. Elton John. Yeah, sent me some orchids for the birthday. He's a lovely man. So so the other people that do these pictures, John, of me.
Have we got any of them?
Darling wants me to show you this as well.
Cool. Yeah, we'll all look at that one day.
Everyone needs a porcelain monkey's skull. Hello, Johnny. I'm gonna do that. Be careful with that.
Oh, yeah, you maybe look too old in this picture. Sorry.
So there you go. So that's it. I've got on my desk here. I've got this thing. Look, John. I think want to see that.
Oh wow! Yes. Was that the when it wrapped on the
That was the last slate, the last day. And Darling wants me to show you this, Johnny. Could you paint that, please?
Oh.
Look at you. So cute.
That's only 50 years ago. 48 to be precise. Oh, and this is me and Darling when we were young. We first met. Look.
No. Yeah, but you see, I guess it wasn't long after that I met you, because I think you still looked a bit like that. And I remember the hair being that little kind of short hair with the curl.
I know you kept getting it cut and it drove you mad. That's it, darling. I'm not showing Johnny any more of my private bits.
No, save them for the neighbour's drone.
Yeah, exactly. You've got to save something for the neighbour. It's this whole thing that's inspired the neighbour to get his drone out. It's like, I've seen just a glimpse of Fletcher's place. I must see more.
Yeah. Is it true what they say?
That he's got a concrete floor. And stuff. Oh, look, I've got this as well. Look, I've got this as well. I haven't got the numbers on this one though.
Nah, great.
I
Is it that literally the clapper you use all the way through?
Yeah, that's the board from the.
Yeah.
I get to have it as the director. I get to nick it at the end.
Nice.
There's usually a couple, and I get to get one of them, which is.
That's
all I get.
One thing that technology hasn't sort of improved on. You still have to match the sound of the audio.
I think it's probably just a sort of
a tradition.
You don't.
A tradition. It's not really. Yeah, they don't really do it. And maybe they do. Editing purposes. I just want to sit like this, Sheba. Is that wrong? So now I look like I've got a neck, but now I look like I'm reaching for an apple in a tree, or I look like a tortoise trying to eat a lettuce leaf. Or is that just my imagination? I just want to hear Sheba giggle. What can I say to make Sheba laugh?
Anything that something unpleasant about me, I should think. Something mildly rude.
Get a shave, yo.
Yeah.
You might not be able to do anything about your hair, but you can definitely shave.
That's very true. Okay, so... Well, I mean, you can sort of see which way this is going now. I'm still happy with that eye there. And also...
Do you want me to take these off? Does that help?
I will actually, I might put a little bit of reflection of that in. Someone might help a little bit. Let's see.
Do they do tubular bells behind you, or is that a radiator?
That is it's a tubular radiator. It's a sort of this is a sort of little bit of a industrial mess, this room, but it was kind of like, I should show it to you actually, but it's all sort of exposed brick and reclaimed this and that.
It's ages since we've been over to you. I think you just got your cat when we came last time we came. Maybe.
No, yeah.
Does that sound right?
But that was about 2.5 years ago.
It's got to be.
Yeah. It's only 2 years ago, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think because your film projects take up a huge chunk of time, basically, don't they? So once you get stuck into it, then you don't. I notice you're pretty disciplined, and you're not out on the raz.
Not as often, no. And it's usually sort of 18 months minimum from start to when I can get all the prep done, the shooting, and then in the editing, things just tend to slow down a bit, don't they? But no, Rocket Man was particularly full on. They decided they wanted to release it in May, which was a lot earlier than we anticipated. So I literally finished it on the Friday, and then the next Thursday we were in Cannes showing it to people. It was very quick turnaround.
Was that?
Does that help? Is it better without?
No, I think it's better with the glasses. I think however you start it, that's how you want to do it. Really, I was just trying to see if there were any reflections I was missing. Because actually, what we'll add in a minute is some reflections on the glasses. Thing with that sort of thing is like the light in the eyes. You want to leave the last details, those sort of things, till the end when you're sure everything is, because they're very precise.
I suppose you can just make a choice about the reflection in the lens of the glasses, can't you? You can just you want it?
Yes and no. You can sometimes get away with not doing it right or making something up, but if in doubt, do what's there, because we are more sensitive, I think, than we realise to picking up little clues about light. Like the light in the eyes, it needs to be kind of consistent. Both eyes need to be consistent, and it needs to be, if possible, expressive where the light's actually coming from. So if you obviously the light's broadly from this side of the face, the reflection will be on that side of the eyes, obviously, and even to the extent of where they are. You know, if you have the reflection lower, like in the middle of the eye, it can sometimes imply different expressions. So you can sometimes give the sense of someone smiling, even if their mouth's quite fixed, just by putting a couple of, just doing, changing the shading the corner of the eye and putting a reflection. It's like a sort of slightly as if the eyes are kind of tightening into a smile, basically.
And is that a decision that you make then towards the end when you think you're sort of like zeroing in on the finished kind of.
It's a good question. I mean,
We've got 2 minutes.
it's
so-
sometimes. I mean, there were 2 minutes left on the Instagram, so I'm gonna. But yeah, so the answer.
Carry on your website.
I'll carry on the website a little bit, but I don't want to do too much so people can't see. The answer to that is maybe I'll carry on talking about it rather than actually painting. But the answer is that you can. I forgot what the question is now. About what do you make the decisions?
About what the look is going to be, you know, whether they're pensive or something.
Oh, I see. I mean, sometimes it happens by itself, and sometimes you look at it towards the end and think maybe it needs to be, you know, a bit more. I mean, what you want is you don't want one fixed expression if you can. You want to hint at different expressions because that's what makes it more interesting to look at. We're running out of time on Instagram. I'm just going to say.
Okay.
About battery as well. My goodness, do you want to press the number 2, the big white 2 on that thing there? No, the big one, yeah. Okay, is Instagram finished?
Not yet.
Okay. Well, look. Let's wrap it up. I think unless anyone wants to carry on, I think we'll carry on early next week. I'll flag up when it's going to be. We had a bit of a late start today, as we know, we'll make sure we lie about what the starting time is next time. I'll say it's 5:30 when it's 6 or something like that.
Everyone's saying thank you to both of you.
Thank you for watching.
And I will be here again when I say I will be. We'll do it again.
No, you said that last time.
I apologise. No, I didn't.
No, Dexter, it's good. We added something.
Thanks, guys. Okay, that was good.